Hey everyone, welcome to another stimulus. This is the first episode, the first real episode, and I'm doing a classic day in the life, and I think I'll do these every once in a while, but switch up with other types of videos as well. It's a Tuesday in April, and started off in the morning bringing Ozzy out, and we are watering some of the plants that my wife Tanner and I have been growing in our front yard. You can actually see in the top right hand side, Lady is our other dog, and she's looking out the window at us, making sure everything is okay. Ozzy really loves being out here with me, and he's a really good boy when he's out here too. He doesn't really bark too often, even when people walk by. But it's a really nice little landscaping, if I do say so myself, that we've been working on. It's funny how just a little bit of work can make your yard look really nice. So I'm just giving these plants a little bit of water before the day starts to get hot. And as you can see, we have a bird feeder, which is really fun to watch the birds eat the seeds that we give them. It's actually empty right now, just about, and we had filled it to the top earlier this week, and it's already gone. So the birds have really been loving it, and at some point today, I think this will get filled back up with the rest of the bird seed that we have. It has been really fun to have a garden growing. It makes the yard look so nice, and it's just interesting to see how over time these little plants are going to be growing and expanding. We've planted a lot of the creeping types of plants. One of them is called a creeping Jenny, and the person at the garden store, she said that the first year they sleep, the second they creep, and the third year they leap. So kind of a cute little way of talking about these plants, but I'm hoping in the next couple of years, these whole patches of mulch will be covered in green. It'll be really pretty to look at. And it's springtime right now, at least the beginning of spring, and the pollen has been everywhere, which I think I'm allergic to pollen, turns out. I grew up in California, and we didn't have a lot of pollen there, as you can imagine, but here in North Carolina, it cakes up the ground, and your car will just turn yellow with pollen. It's pretty wild. Turns out also it goes on your skin, and if you don't wash it off, you can get itchy, and that's what happened to me. So I'm definitely not going to let that happen again, because it's not a pleasant experience. But Ozzy doesn't seem to mind. I knocked over my coffee, as you can see. That was my fault. Luckily, the cup didn't break or anything, but I'm going to go back inside quick and get some more coffee. I have the luxury of working from home, so my office is really close, maybe closer than I actually want it to be, but I like it. It allows me to have some freedom in how I choose to start the morning. I like to stick to a schedule each morning so I can start the day well, and part of it is been reading a chapter from Wherever You Go, There You Are by John Kabat-Zinn. It's a classic mindfulness book, and I think one of the books that really brought mindfulness meditation to the West more broadly. And the chapters are really short and just calming, really. One of the topics they talk about is thinking of other people and think of them smiling and full of joy. That's something that, especially before I have a meeting, I'll think of the people that I'm going to speak with as if they are full of joy and happy right now. And even if I'm a bit nervous, for the meeting to start, it makes it a lot easier to relate to them, knowing that we're all humans and we all really want to be happy. And yeah, so I did a little bit of that before my first meeting of the day. This was an 8 o'clock meeting, and I'm not going to be working too much using my computer. It's mostly like a talking meeting. So I figured I'd do it on the couch and just have a bit of a relaxing morning while I talk to my colleagues. I have a pretty typical corporate type job, but honestly, I really love my job. I like the people I work with, and I get to solve problems and help people solve their own problems, and it's really rewarding. Since that morning meeting was a little bit earlier, I didn't get through all of my routines that I like to in the morning. Uh, since the weather is getting really nice, I added back into my routine doing these primal movements. I do some jujitsu, and I feel like it's a really helpful way of getting my body to move in the ways that I want it to. And it's a little difficult, and I'm getting back into it, like I said. So I wouldn't say this is like a perfect way of doing things, but it's uh, it's a nice way of getting your body to move in different ways, especially like this corporate job I have. I mean, you don't really get to move around very often. It can be a lot to just sit on your computer, but this is a nice way of just breaking up the day a little bit. One goal I have for this summer, which I've had for the last 2 summers, I think, is learning how to handstand. And I wasn't able to do it yet. I've gotten some little bit of close shots at doing it, but never what I would consider an actual handstand. It's not controlled, and I don't really stay up for very long. But I think this summer will be my summer that I can do it. I might use stimulus to follow my journey in learning how to do a handstand and see the world in a different way. We so often see the world right side up because that's how we walk around, and that's how you're supposed to really be in the world, right? But it'll be interesting to learn how to handstand and have opportunities to see the world in a totally different way. And I think that's really the reason why I want to learn how to handstand. It's also cool to do, I think, and gets your shoulders strong, which I love getting my shoulders strong. Who doesn't, right? As you'll see in just a moment, one thing that Lady and Ozzy both love to do when they're in the backyard is try to catch the bumblebees that are going around. I'm thinking since the front yard we have a lot of plants that are growing more and things, there's going to be a lot more bumblebees, and it's really pretty funny to see the bumblebees evade the dogs, and I think everyone's having some fun in it, the bumblebees and the dogs. So here's something you might not see every day: a somewhat grown man doing spins in his living room while his dogs look at him like he's insane. But really, this is some serious business. It's a routine called the Tibetan Rites, something that's been around for, I'm pretty sure, like thousands of years. And apparently, it makes you age slower. People who do Tibetan rites have been known to live a really long time. I've heard that part of it is because the movements are specific for opening up your diaphragm and allowing you to breathe in special ways. So I don't know if it's really going to make me live until I'm 120, but I can tell you that it definitely does make my posture and my neck feel a lot better. So, a little bit about the routine itself. I looked it up, and apparently it is 2,500 years old. And I don't know if that makes it better or not, but it definitely makes it be a long lasting routine. Um, you start off, of course, with those spins. Apparently, it's supposed to like set your body with the rotation of the Earth. But also, I feel like just looking a little bit silly is a good way to start the day because the rest of the day, you're probably not going to be looking as funny as you did right in the morning. Uh, the second exercise is this one where it's really easy. Simply, you like tilt your head back and look up, and it really feels good. I am looking down way more than I want to, and so I feel like this kind of evens it out and makes my posture better and you know that kind of stuff. I do flip over the mat so that my knees don't hurt as bad, and that seems to help out quite a bit. As you can probably hear, my dogs are with me right now as I'm recording the audio for it. So if you hear some grumbling, that's them. This might be a little obvious, but moving around is so important. Sometimes, especially on really busy days, it's easy for me to just open up my laptop, start my workday right away, and get into it. And then, sure enough, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock rolls around, and I've been sitting around all day. Maybe I got a lot of work done, but it's not good for my body, And that's why I try to do these interesting movements in the morning to get my body uh, working, right? To see how it can move. I always want to learn how to like do the lotus position, and my hamstrings from sitting down and my hips just do not want to do it. And maybe I'll never be able to get my body to move in that way or just sit in that way. But I think with a little bit of trying, your body's pretty capable of doing something. And maybe it's especially the case when you're in your 20s, as I am right now. Uh, but I think it's, you just can't, you lose it, you, you don't use it, you lose it. Is that how it goes? That's the kind of thing to think about. Um, so before this, I did some of those bridges, and they're really good, especially I think for opening up my shoulders. But then this one is the classic down dog of sorts. Uh, the chaturanga is something I was doing earlier, but it gets tiring. It's when you kind of like flow down and then go up. So instead, I kind of do this weird push up, but my hips move. But hey, finally, I'm done with those. I hope you enjoyed watching me move around. Um, I don't think I'm going to do a lot of these types of moving things because it's just about work time. So you might be thinking that all I really do all day is just these little exercises, but I promise you that's not the case. I do some work as well. And right now, hey, look at me sitting at the desk, getting some work done. What I do for work is I work like for a water company. We're called Xylem, Xylem, and I do the Salesforce things. Basically, allow like users to use Salesforce. It sounds kind of boring, but it's actually really pretty fun. We're a really big company, and so I get to talk to a lot of people from all over the world, and they come to me with requests, and I get to figure out how to do them. Uh, of course, a lot of my requests I get are the same things I always get, you know, but there's plenty of new like problems that I never knew would exist that do exist, and also uh, just managing the data for a big company is so difficult. I'm sure there'll be a time very soon where little AIs go around and clean up our data. And man, that is going to be pretty cool. Like other AI things are a little scary, but it cleaning up the Salesforce data is going to be hopefully a little piece of cake. And maybe they'll even like it, just like eating a little piece of cake. All right, I told you I do more work here. And so what I like to do typically is sit in a comfortable place while I do little emails and message people back and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, when I need to have those two monitors to see what I'm missing, I come in this room that we have. It's our study room. It's also where it's a lot more cluttered than the rest of our house. Definitely because of me. I I just like some little gadgets. It's just fun. I have so I have a lot of little gadgets, and uh, they keep me occupied. But they also keep rooms cluttered. So that's always cool. Uh, as you can see, I have in the corner a 3D printer. At least you can see a little bit of it. And then I got some Arduino things and stuff like that. But one of my favorite types of gadgets that I've always really been drawn to are cameras. So it's probably part of the reason why I'm doing these YouTube videos because I got to put them to use. But I got a drone about a year ago, so I'm really excited to take that out and do some shots with it in some cool places. So hey, let's look forward to some of those interesting shots. And we fast forwarded quite a bit. It's actually around 4 o'clock, and I am signing off. So back to our good old couch. It's like I don't even get out, right? This is what I do. I'm just inside all day long. Luckily, it's a pretty cool place to be. I like the inside. There's a bit of my wife, Tanner, her arm. Yeah, so this, I want to go over a little bit. This is my to-do list type of thing. This is how I structure my days and my week. So I have like the task that I like to do over there, and on the back I have time blocking for half hours throughout the day. And what time is it now on my schedule? Oh, it's reading time. I'm reading a book called Notes on Complexity by Neil Fisi. And it's very interesting. It talks about our complex world, as you can imagine. It talks about how little parts make up bigger things, as you can imagine. So, like our cells and how those move our organs and that moves us around, or an anthill, individual ants interact with one another next to each other, and it creates these complex ant hills, you know? And one quote that I was reading that really kind of emphasizes this is, from this perspective, then, are we living beings moving around upon this rock we call Earth? Or are we, in fact, the Earth itself, whose atoms have self organized to form these transitory beings that think of themselves as self sufficient and separate from each other, even though they only ever arose from and will inevitably return to the atomic substance of the planet? So that about wraps it up. This is the first day in the life through Stimulus's eyes. Really appreciate all of you guys watching. I'm excited to make more of these. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk very soon.